So how much do you know about 1940s Chicago?
Big goose egg. Nothing.
Perfect. This is the story of Gordon McNaughton. Gordon McNaughton was born in Chicago in 1910, the son of a tire salesman. He played high school baseball for Loyola Academy of Chicago, and as a senior pitched his team to the Catholic High School Baseball League Championship. He went on to pitch for Xavier University of Cincinnati, where he also played defensive end for their football team. Not the most common duo you hear of these days, starting pitcher and defensive end, but it does happen, apparently. McNaughton got signed out of college to the Boston Red Sox organization, making his major league debut on August 13th, 1932. And in his first 3 appearances, he gave up just 1 earned run. He gave up 2 runs in the following game and then 6 in both his 5th and 6th games, which were his only 2 starts. In those 2 games, he allowed 17 hits, walked 11, and hit 1 batter. Even though they were solidly in last place and only had 8 games left to play, the Red Sox had seen enough. And like that, 35 days after his debut, Gordon McNaughton's major league career was over, ending with an ERA of 6.43, giving up 21 hits and 22 walks over 21 innings, leaving him with a whip just over 2, and putting the period on Boston's all-time worst win-loss record, going 43 and 111. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in. So that's who we're dealing with here. When we talk about that he was like a Major League Baseball player, he was like technically a Major League Baseball player.
I could play better than that.
He went on to play for the Reading Red Sox, Boston's single-A affiliate, where he gave up 13 more runs in 11 innings during the 1933 season. The following year, McNaughton found himself for the Greenville Buckshots in the East Dixie League. Not where you want to find yourself ever, is the East Dixie League. In 1935, he posted a 15.84 ERA, and that would do it for his professional career. He would never pick up a baseball again, probably. So McNaughton would move back home to Chicago and get a job at the post office, obviously. However, the major league lifestyle would follow McNaughton back home. Gordon had an affinity for partying, gambling, and most notably, women, usually married women. He frequented nightclubs and allegedly even owned a number of gaming concessions in several taverns. But despite his fast lifestyle, McNaughton elected to have a live-in, long-term girlfriend. Her name is Eleanor Williams. You're going to want to remember Eleanor Williams. That's his live-in girlfriend.
Eleanor Williams.
Eleanor Williams.
Eleanor Williams.
Eleanor was a dancer and a dice girl. Common at the time, dice girls were typically attractive women paid by bookmakers and owners to encourage men to bet, keep track of the money, and even lure the men into the taverns. So just like a drink lady at a bar now. Or not a bar, at a casino now. Like they got the pretty ladies, they make you want to come over, maybe get an extra drink, maybe I'll stay for another hand of poker, hey, she's looking at me, maybe I'll stick around, show her I'm a high roller, throw an extra $1 down. Eleanor had left her husband, Clarence, to pursue Gordon and fully engross herself in his lifestyle. She was quoted saying that she believed she was the 3rd woman to leave her husband for Gordon. So this guy really, like when I say he had an affinity for married women, he was like a habitual offender, borderline addict for married women.
So, dating profile, you married? No? Okay, back off.
That's like his number one qualifier on Match.com is, what's your husband's name? Fast forward to 1942. Eleanor and Gordon have been living together for about 3 years now. Both still living their party-centric lifestyles, somewhat more separately now for reasons that we will get to a bit later. Gordon still has a big hand in the gambling circuit, now a large stakes gambler at the Arlington racetrack, which is where he meets Dorothy Moose.
Dun, dun, dun.
Another huge hitter, Dorothy Moose. We are going to get to know Dorothy.
Dorothy Moose?
Moose? I think it's Moos or Moose. It's M-O-O-S.
Dorothy Moose.
Dorothy had been the victim of an affair and had recently moved out of her and her husband's home, taking up residence in the New Lawrence Hotel. August 5th, 1942. Eleanor was working at the Fireside Inn, a tavern across town. She ended up leaving that night with a man named Barney Towie. Barney was a 34-year-old police officer who was known to frequent the taverns and gambling circles when off duty. He and Eleanor left the tavern to get a hotel room. On their way to the hotel that Barney had a room at, the two passed by the New Lawrence Hotel, where Eleanor saw Gordon's car parked out front. But she doesn't do anything. She ends up staying the night with Barney at the hotel a few blocks away, waking up early while he was still asleep. She tiptoed across the floor, stole the officer's gun, and slipped out of the room. Eleanor walked the couple of blocks to the New Lawrence Hotel and walked inside, concealing the revolver. She approached the front desk and showed the clerk a phone number and asked if anyone in the hotel had called it. She knew from personal experience that it was Gordon's habit to call in sick to the post office whenever he was having an especially good time. And she was spot on. The clerk told her what room had dialed the post office, and Eleanor made her way up to the 12th floor.
And this is why we have privacy things now.
Let's say I'm working at the front desk of a hotel, right? And there's like a bunch of privacy, confidentiality things that like I have to hold up to, right? Mm-hmm. But you come in and you're like, look, I think my wife's in here because I saw her car, and I bet she dialed this number because I know her well enough that I know she would have done all these things. I think you earned it. I think I'm going to break it and tell you. She goes up the stairs and finds the room and pounds on the door. Dorothy Moose answers it, wearing no clothes. Put on clothes if you're going to answer the door. That part didn't need to be in the story. Like, put on clothes.
If I'm half asleep, like in college, someone knocked on my door, I had my box on. What?
No. Under no circumstances would I open the door with no clothes on. Behind her, Eleanor could see Gordon getting dressed. She pulled out the pistol and fired a shot, but shaking with rage, she missed him. Gordon wrestled the gun from her hand, tossing it onto the couch. Dorothy quickly took it and hid it in the bathroom. Eleanor broke free from Gordon's grip and began yelling at him about the root of their distance, what had been driving them apart. Eleanor had been pregnant the year prior, ultimately losing the baby because of the physical abuse she received at the hands of Gordon. She ran to the bathroom and grabbed the gun. She emerged, pointing it at Gordon, who said, "I'm a coward. I deserve anything you do to me." And those words would be his last. Eleanor Williams heard those words, replied, "Okay," and shot him point blank in the chest 4 times, killing him. She ran from the room, unable to believe what she had done. Later telling reporters, "I had to kill him. I just had to."
Kudos to her.
Yeah, honestly, and that's Eleanor. Be like Eleanor.
Eleanor Williams.
In the coming months, Barney Towie, the officer whose gun Eleanor used to murder Gordon McNaughton, was discharged from the police for allowing his gun to be stolen.
Good.
He committed suicide 2 days later.
I kind of feel bad now.
Not good. Dude, yeah, as you were like, good, I was like, I should have finished that thought. Dorothy Moose and her husband ended up getting back together and living out the rest of their lives as Chicago socialites. Eleanor pleaded insanity in her defense, even collapsing on the witness stand. It did not work. The trial lasted 6 days, and she was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 1 to 14 years in prison, which is far too big of a window.
1 to 14.
1 to 14 years?
I thought you were about to say like 1 to 14 lifetimes. Like, dang.
If I was like, I'm gonna go have 1 to 14 beers, I'm not giving you a general idea of what kind of night I'm gonna have. I'm gonna punch you 1 to 14 times. You know, I'm gonna go on this roller coaster 1 to 14 times. Too big of a window. Shortly after her sentencing, she was visited by Clarence. Do you remember Clarence? Her ex-husband.
Yeah.
Who asked her to marry him. She said yes.
Did he not see that she killed someone?
Let me tell you this. I looked all over because I wanted the end of that story to be that she killed Clarence.
I want that too.
It did not happen. I know, bullshit. Unfortunately, that's how the Gordon McNaughton story ends.
We don't even care about him.
Yeah, I mean, fuck him. Like, he's dead. Yeah.
Eleanor and Dorothy getting back with their husbands. Shit.
They just both went back. They both went back, one after admitting to being a murderer.
Well, Gordon, you failed.
You failed, Gordon. You know what? Maybe Gordon won. Maybe we're the losers, after all. Or maybe he got shot in the chest after having a 15 ERA in the minors.
15.
Thanks for watching this episode of Baseball True Crime. We'll see you on the next episode.